Good day, learners. Welcome back to class. Welcome to Biology with Omotayo, a sure place for acquiring required knowledge that is needed for you to perform required exploits in your field of study that is related with biology. Well, last class we looked at phylum Arthropoda. It was looked at extensively. A table guided us through. However, just a quick one. A couple of examples with regards to the various classes under that table. Yes, for like the kingdom, for like the class crustacean, we have organisms such as like your prawn, your crab, your crayfish, and so on. And for the class insecta, wow, lots of them. The houseflies, mosquitoes, cockroaches, and so on. For the class arachnida, where we have organisms with 4 pairs of jointed appendages, that's where you have like your spider, your mites, your bugs, and so on. While for myriapoda, split into 2, the millipede and the centipede, well, those are the commonest example there. Okay, with that, from last class, we will be moving on this very moment to the next aspect of our study. And you all can equally preempt. The next phylum is phylum Echinodermata. Phylum Echinodermata. Come with me as we examine this phylum. Okay, phylum Echinodermata. Now, for phylum Echinodermata, we have a couple of key features. Yes, organisms here are radially symmetrical. They have a radially symmetrical body. Organisms are radially symmetrical. They are slow-moving organisms. Okay, they are slow-moving organisms. In fact, always found at the ocean floor or what we call seabeds. Also, these organisms have no distinct, you can't even say they have a head. No, they have no head and brain. No head and brain. The body here is not segmented. Okay, body is not segmented. They are spiny-skinned animal. Yes, spiny-skinned animal. Okay, spiny-skinned animal. And they have 2 feet, which aids movement. Examples of organisms that can be found under this very phylum, we have organisms such as sea urchins. Okay, you have the brittle starfish, you have the sea cucumber, and so on. Now, this brings us to the end of this very phylum. It's a short phylum. It's a phylum with a couple of just very few details. And so from here, we will move on to the next, which is phylum Chordata. That is the phylum where you have vertebrates. Remember, from phylum 1 to 8, Porifera, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, Nematoda, Annelida, Mollusca, Arthropoda to Echinodermata. They are all made up of invertebrate organisms. And so we'll be moving on to the 9th phyla, and that is where we have the phylum Chordata, made up of vertebrate organisms. Come with me, please. And so to the next phylum, we are now done with phylum Echinodermata. We move straight to phylum Chordata. Phylum Chordata, phylum of vertebrates. This phylum has 3 subphylum. Okay, we have the Cephalochordata, Urochordata, and Vertebrata. I repeat, Cephalochordata, Urochordata, Vertebrata. Okay, Cephalochordata, Urochordata, and then the Vertebrata. We have lancelets as an example for your Cephalochordata. We have tunicates as example for your Urochordata. And then we have all the various vertebrates as example under the subphylum Vertebrata. Lancelets, Earlier in one of our lessons, we spoke at length with regards to each of these subphylum and their unique differences. Yes, for like your Cephalochordata, they have a notochord kind of structure at elementary developmental primitive stage. However, as it matures and advances to mature stage, such structure is lost. A similar thing is what is experienced also with Urochordata. The notochord prevails through primitive developmental stage into adult stage. However, with Vertebrata, the notochord exists at the primitive development stage. However, at adult stage, it is now well modified and differentiated into what we call the spinal cord. Now, with these three as a subphylum under phylum Chordata, we'll look at other examples of organisms that can now be further identified under this very phylum Chordata. So we have Cephalochordata, Urochordata, and Vertebrata. Now, this very Vertebrata can be splitted into two. This very Vertebrata can be splitted into two. Okay, so we have one, we have the division Agnata. Okay, and then we have the division Gnatostomata. I repeat, Gnatostomata. Yes, for Agnata, we have jawless organism. Okay, we have jawless organism. Also, here they are being referred to as a cyclostomata. Okay, cytoclomata. Cyclostomata. Cyclostomata. Just like we have gnatostomata. Gnatostomata. And then you will agree with me that since this is jawless, this one will be what? Jawed. Or organisms with jaw. So now, we'll move on from here. For the jawless organism, we have organisms that are basically just without jaw. But for the Gnatostomata, we have a couple of other subdivisions under Gnatostomata. That is where we have the physis with fins, we have the amphibia, we have the reptilia, and then we have the aves. I will quickly illustrate this using a chart. Okay, so Vertebrata splitted into Agnata. That is, when we talk about Agnata, we are talking about the jawless. Okay, and then we move to Gnatostomata, the jawed. Okay, Gnatostomata, the jawed. Okay, so a chart here will guide, as you can see, the jawless and the ones with jaw. The ones with jaw further splitted into the ones with fins. That's where we have our physis, the fish family, and then the tetrapods, the ones with limbs, amphibia, reptilia, aves, and mammalia. So in summary, our phylum Chordata has a subphylum Cephalochordata, Urochordata, and Vertebrata. Now, our Vertebrata is splitted into Agnata, jawless, and then the Gnatostomata. Okay, that are the ones with jaw. And for these ones with jaw, equally can be splitted into two, the ones with fins and then the ones with limbs, that is the tetrapods. And for under our tetrapods, that is where we have our amphibia, reptilia, aves, and mammalia. Progressively in order of complexity, that means we'll be having physis, amphibia, reptilia, aves, and mammalia. Physis, amphibia, reptilia, aves, and mammalia. A good grasp of this will go a long way in helping you in your UTME. The Gnatostomata has the physis and the tetrapods. Okay, the physis with fins and the tetrapods with limbs. For physis, we have our fishes, and so on under here, while the tetrapods, that's where we have our amphibia, reptilia, aves, and mammalia. So in summary, we simply say under our Glattostomata, we have physis, amphibia, reptilia, aves, mammalia in order of progressive complexity. Physis, amphibia, reptilia, aves, and what? Mammalia. Okay, thank you for staying this long with the class. Glad to have you hang around. Please take note that it is highly desired that you subscribe to the channel so that you will be a means of support to encouraging us. Also, kindly like the video, share, and get others involved in this learning platform so that together we can grow to be learners of better value. See you next class, and then please try to revisit the content again and again until you have a good grasp. Take care and rest well. See you next class. From the intricate working of the cells to classification of living things, from the mechanism